There are moments in life when you offer someone something rare, something that can't be bought, copied, or replaced. Loyalty, truth, kindness, a heart untainted by games or manipulation. And instead of honoring it, they broke it. Not by accident, but by choice, by arrogance, by entitlement. At the time, it may have seemed like they won, like they got away with it. But what they didn't realize is this: when you break what is pure, you don't just hurt another person, you wound your own soul. Because what is pure reveals who we really are. And when someone chooses to betray that, the universe doesn't forget. Their conscience doesn't forget. The silence becomes loud. The past becomes alive. And guilt, slow, relentless guilt, begins to tear them apart from the inside out. This speech is not about revenge, it's about reality. The psychological truth that no mask can cover, no distraction can erase what you do to others, you do to yourself. The destruction of innocence invokes a moral debt. When someone betrays what is pure, they are often blind to the weight of the damage they've caused. They think the wound they've inflicted is shallow, easily forgotten. But what they fail to understand is the deep, unseen consequences of breaking something innocent. Purity is not weakness, it is a profound force of truth. It is a reflection of trust, of honesty, of love that does not ask for anything in return. And when someone takes that purity and destroys it, they are not merely committing an act against another person, they are signing a silent contract with their own conscience, one that will eventually come due. This moral debt is not something that can be erased, and it will not go unnoticed. The destruction of innocence is not a trivial matter. It's easy for those who are caught up in their own world of self-interest to think that betrayal has no real consequence. They assume that once they walk away, the past is gone, as if it's nothing more than a shadow that fades in the distance. But what they fail to realize is that there is no escaping the truth that resides within them. The act of destroying what was pure, whether it's a trusting heart, a deep connection, or a bond built on truth, creates a ripple effect that can never be undone. That purity, once shattered, doesn't simply vanish. It leaves behind a mark, a stain on the person who tore it apart. And that stain is their conscience following them like a silent specter, waiting to confront them when the noise of life quiets down. This is where the moral debt begins to take form. When someone betrays purity, they don't just owe the person they've wronged, they owe themselves. They owe their own soul the opportunity to reconcile with the destruction they've caused. But the longer they deny it, the greater the debt becomes. Guilt builds silently in the background, a slow-growing weight that starts to erode their peace of mind. It doesn't matter how much they try to distract themselves or numb the pain of their actions, the debt is still there, silently compounding. At first, the guilt might be faint. It may come as a whisper in moments of quiet reflection. But like any debt, it doesn't stay small forever. As time passes, it grows louder. The conscience doesn't let go. It replays the betrayal over and over, reminding them of the trust they broke, the promises they didn't keep, and the life they destroyed. They might try to push it away, to tell themselves that they're justified, that the other person deserved it, that they were right all along. But the truth is inescapable. No amount of self-righteousness can extinguish the burning reality of what they've done. Eventually, the person who broke what was pure begins to feel the weight of their actions in ways they didn't anticipate. They start to lose their peace. They can no longer look at themselves in the same way. Every time they look in the mirror, they see the version of themselves that betrayed something sacred. They feel the strain of that moral debt pulling at their thoughts, their emotions, and their decisions. They might act as if it doesn't matter, as if they've moved on. But deep down, they know the consequences of their betrayal are still alive, still present, still demanding accountability. The destruction of innocence doesn't just affect the person who was wronged. It changes the betrayer. It erodes their sense of integrity, their ability to trust themselves, and their understanding of what is right. They've broken a part of themselves in the process. And as much as they might try to rebuild their life, something will always be missing. Something will always feel incomplete. That's the cost of destroying purity. The price is paid in a currency that can never be regained. They might try to fill the emptiness with distractions, with new relationships, new pursuits, or material gains, but none of these things can erase the debt they owe. The guilt will follow them. It will sit in their heart like a persistent ache, reminding them that no matter what they accumulate, no matter how many victories they claim, they will always be haunted by the destruction of something pure. That haunting is the conscience's way of ensuring that the debt is never forgotten. This moral debt cannot be paid off through excuses or justifications. It can't be wiped away by time or by pretending it never happened. The only way to truly free themselves from the burden is to face it, to acknowledge the damage they've caused, and to understand that no one can escape the moral consequences of their actions, not forever, not completely. The betrayer will live with the knowledge that they have broken something beautiful, something irreplaceable. And the debt they owe is not just to the person they hurt, it is to themselves. This is the reality that awaits those who think they can destroy what is pure without consequence. The consequences will not always be immediate, but they will come. And when they do, they will be as unavoidable as the rising sun. The guilt will tear at them, erode their peace, and remind them that there is no escaping the truth of what they've done. This moral debt is theirs to carry, a weight that will grow heavier with each passing day until they find a way to confront it and make amends, or until it consumes them entirely. Purity is not weakness, it's a force of truth. In a world that often celebrates manipulation, dishonesty, and power plays, purity stands as an anomaly. It is not something easily understood by those who are caught up in the chaos of life's games. Many view purity as naive, as a form of weakness that can be easily exploited. They believe that to survive, one must bend, twist, and compromise their integrity. But purity is not weakness. It is, in fact, one of the most powerful forces in existence. Purity reveals truth about others, but more importantly, it reveals truth about ourselves. When someone possesses purity, whether it's a pure heart, a pure intention, or an unwavering commitment to what is right, they are not simply existing in a passive state. They are actively standing against the tide of falsehoods and deceit. In a world where lies can be woven into the fabric of daily life, purity cuts through that fabric like a razor-sharp sword. It stands out not because it is flashy or loud, but because it is unyielding. It is a constant force that cannot be bent by manipulation, a force that does not surrender in the face of adversity. The strength of purity lies in its ability to reveal the truth, no matter how uncomfortable or inconvenient that truth may be. When someone betrays what is pure, they are not just destroying an individual, they are attacking the essence of truth itself. They are attempting to silence something that has the potential to expose the darkness they carry within themselves. This is why they do it. They are threatened by purity because it exposes the reality of their own moral shortcomings, their own flaws, and their own lies. In the moment of betrayal, the one who breaks what is pure often believes they are getting away with something. They think that by exploiting purity, they are gaining an advantage, that they are outsmarting those who choose to live with integrity. But what they fail to understand is that purity does not bend to the will of those who seek to destroy it. It does not collapse under pressure. Instead, it exposes the betrayer for who they really are. It forces them to confront their own darkness, their own lies, and their own weakness. This is where the true power of purity lies. It is not in the act of being innocent or simple. It is in the ability to shine a light on the hidden corners of human nature, on the parts of ourselves that we would rather keep concealed. When someone betrays what is pure, they are not just harming another person, they are forcing themselves into a confrontation with their own conscience, whether they acknowledge it or not. Purity's power is also evident in the way it holds people accountable. Those who betray what is pure cannot escape the consequences of their actions. They may believe that they can walk away unscathed, that the damage they've caused will fade with time. But purity doesn't forget. It doesn't allow the truth to be buried. No matter how much they try to rationalize or justify their betrayal, the truth will always remain, sitting quietly in the background, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The reality is that the betrayer is often caught in a moral struggle that they can't escape. Purity forces them to face the truth about themselves, about their choices, and about the weight of their actions. The very thing they tried to destroy becomes the force that ultimately reveals their true nature. In the end, they cannot outrun the truth. They cannot hide from the consequences of their betrayal. What those who destroy purity fail to realize is that it is not their lies, their manipulation, or their calculated moves that ultimately win the day. It is purity that will always triumph, because truth is a force that cannot be subdued for long. The lies may be loud in the beginning, but they will eventually crumble in the face of the enduring power of truth. Purity does not need to fight to be heard, it simply stands. It is a light that cannot be extinguished, no matter how hard the darkness tries to swallow it. And this is why purity is not a weakness, it is a profound strength. It may not always be the loudest voice in the room, but it is the voice that speaks with the clearest authority. It is the force that stands firm in the face of adversity, the force that refuses to be corrupted by the chaos of the world. Purity is not something to be trampled upon or discarded. It is something that endures, something that demands respect, and ultimately it is the very thing that reveals the true character of those around it. Those who choose to betray purity often do so because they are unable to recognize the strength it holds. They mistake it for fragility because it is not as overtly aggressive as the tactics they use to manipulate the world. But purity's power lies in its resilience. It withstands every storm, every attack, and every attempt to corrupt it. It is not fragile. It is a force of nature capable of exposing the hidden truths of those who think they can get away with destroying it. It is the person who destroys purity who suffers the most. They may think they are winning in the moment, but they are only digging a deeper hole for themselves. They may walk away thinking that the consequences are far off, that the damage they've caused will fade over time. But the truth is that purity never fades. It stands tall, unyielding, and in time, it will always rise to reveal the truth of who they are. It is not their lies that will stand the test of time. It is purity. Conscience is not an option, it's a law of the soul. Conscience is not a mere suggestion or a casual idea that we can choose to follow when it suits us. It is a fundamental law of the soul, a force that governs the way we live and interact with the world. It is the silent voice within that speaks of right and wrong, that reminds us of the truth even when we try to ignore it. And yet, so many people attempt to live their lives as if they can escape it, as if their actions will have no consequences. They believe that they can betray, deceive, and harm others without ever paying the price. But the reality is far different. The conscience does not operate on the basis of convenience. It doesn't allow us to act without being held accountable. It is always there, silently recording the choices we make, and sooner or later it demands payment for what we owe. When someone betrays another, when they break trust or manipulate a situation to their advantage, they may feel triumphant in the short term. They may feel that they've gotten away with something, that they've outsmarted the person they've wronged. But the truth is, they have not outsmarted anyone. They have only deceived themselves. The conscience is not fooled by clever tricks or fleeting victories. It knows the truth, and it will not let go. The person who has committed betrayal may try to bury their guilt beneath layers of rationalization or distraction, but that guilt is still there, lurking beneath the surface, waiting to resurface when least expected. In fact, the more someone tries to suppress their conscience, the stronger it becomes. It has a way of growing louder and more persistent, like a drumbeat that becomes impossible to ignore. The silence of the night, the quiet moments of reflection, and the sudden pangs of regret all serve as reminders that no matter how much they try to bury their actions, their conscience is still awake, still watching. It is the law of the soul in action, an unbreakable rule that governs not only how we treat others, but also how we treat ourselves. The guilt that follows a betrayal is not something that can be dismissed with time or with distractions. It may fade temporarily, but it never completely disappears. It settles deep within the person's psyche, subtly altering their thoughts, their decisions, and their emotional state. It causes a restlessness that cannot be quenched. The person who has wronged someone may try to convince themselves that the past is behind them, that they are no longer the person they once were. But their conscience knows better. It will remind them again and again of what they've done, and it will not let them move forward till they confront the truth. What makes conscience so powerful is that it is not something external, it is within us. It is the reflection of our deepest values, our understanding of right and wrong, and the moral compass that guides us through life. We cannot escape it. We cannot outrun it. It is a part of who we are, embedded in the very core of our being. And because it is a law of the soul, It operates on its own terms. No amount of reasoning or justification can override it. When we do something wrong, our conscience knows. It doesn't matter how convincing our excuses are, how many others we try to blame, or how much time has passed. The conscience sees the truth, and it holds us accountable. This is why even when a person believes they have walked away unscathed, their conscience continues to work against them. The soul knows the debt that has been incurred, and it will not rest until that debt is paid. The weight of guilt may seem unbearable at times. It may manifest as a sense of shame, a feeling of unease, or a persistent thought that gnaws at the mind. And over time, this guilt will continue to erode their peace, their self-respect, and their ability to truly move forward. The conscience operates like a force of nature. Just as the laws of physics govern the physical world, the laws of the soul govern our moral actions. It does not bend to our desires, it does not bow to our will. No matter how much we try to deny it, we are bound by its power. And when we break that moral code, when we betray, deceive, or harm another, we are not only violating the trust of others, we are violating the very fabric of our own being. And our conscience will hold us accountable. But it is not just about guilt and punishment. The conscience serves as a guide, a moral compass that leads us toward redemption. It is through facing the truth and acknowledging our mistakes that we find the path to healing. It is when we confront the guilt, when we face the damage we've caused, that we can begin to repair the broken pieces of our soul. It is through reconciliation, through making amends, that we restore balance to our moral world. The conscience does not exist merely to condemn us, it exists to help us grow, to guide us back to a place of integrity, and to remind us of our responsibility to one another. There is no escape from the law of the soul. It is not something that can be dismissed or ignored for long. It will always demand attention, and it will always hold us accountable. The person who has betrayed another may think they are free, but the truth is that they are not. The weight of their actions will continue to haunt them until they face their conscience and make things right. Only then will they find peace. Until then, the law of the soul will continue to guide them, forcing them to confront the truth and pay the price for the damage they have caused. The conscience is not an option. It is not something we can choose to follow or ignore. It is a law of the soul, an unshakable force that governs the way we live, the choices we make, and the way we relate to others. It is a constant reminder that our actions have consequences, that the truth cannot be hidden forever, and that we are accountable for the lives we touch. No matter how much we may try to evade it, the conscience will always be there, silently holding us to the truth. Time is the mirror that shows them their own face. Time is one of the most powerful forces in life. It cannot be hurried, manipulated, or ignored. It moves forward relentlessly, carrying everything in its path. And while time may seem like a neutral observer, it has a profound way of revealing the truth. It exposes what was hidden, what was ignored, and what was denied. It brings to light the consequences of our actions, and it offers a mirror, a reflection of who we truly are and what we've done. When someone betrays another, they may believe that time will erase the hurt, that the damage they've caused will fade away with the passing days. But time does not work that way. It doesn't forget. It doesn't forgive. And most importantly, it doesn't let us escape from the reality of who we've become. In the moment of betrayal, the person who breaks trust or destroys something pure may feel invincible. They may believe that they are in control, that the decisions they are making will go unnoticed or will not have lasting effects. They may think that their actions will be swept under the rug, that the passage of time will make everything seem less important, less significant. But what they fail to understand is that time is not a passive force. It is an active agent of truth. It does not let the past be forgotten. It makes us face what we have done, even when we try to hide from it. As time passes, the memories of betrayal begin to solidify. What may have seemed like a momentary lapse of judgment in the heat of the moment soon becomes a permanent part of the past. The person who betrayed another will find that the images of their actions begin to replay in their mind over and over. The faces of those they hurt, the words they spoke, the choices they made, all of it becomes etched in their memory. Time serves as a constant reminder of the damage they have caused, And as the years go by, the guilt does not fade. It grows slowly but surely, like an unrelenting wave crashing against the shore, wearing down any defense the betrayer might have. The truth is that time reveals the nature of a person's character. In the heat of the moment, it is easy to act impulsively, to give in to temptation, or to make a choice that seems expedient at the time. But as time goes on, the full scope of that choice becomes clear. The person who broke trust may try to convince themselves that they did nothing wrong, that they were justified, or that the other person deserved it. But time has a way of stripping away those justifications. It forces the betrayer to look at themselves in the mirror and face the truth of what they have done. The rationalizations they once held on to begin to unravel, and the only thing left is the raw, unvarnished reality of their actions. What's more, time has a way of catching up with everyone. In the short term, someone who betrays another may feel like they've escaped unscathed. They may believe that they've gotten away with it, that they have moved on, and that life has continued without consequence. But the truth is that time does not work on the surface level. It digs deeper, revealing what lies beneath. And eventually, the betrayer will find that their own conscience has caught up with them. The guilt they thought they could outrun will come back to haunt them. The lies they told to justify their actions will no longer hold weight. Time, in its unrelenting progression, strips away the illusions that once protected them. There is no escape from time. No matter how much someone tries to outrun the consequences of their actions, no matter how much they distract themselves with new relationships, new goals, or new successes, time will always be there, waiting to reveal the truth. It is like a mirror that cannot be ignored. When a person looks into it, they see not just the image of their face, but the reflection of their soul. Time shows them who they really are, the person who betrayed, the person who lied, the person who caused pain. And in that reflection, there is no escaping the truth. This is why, no matter how much time passes, the person who has betrayed another will always feel the weight of their actions. Time does not allow them to forget. It forces them to confront the reality of what they've done. And it is in this confrontation with time that the full magnitude of their betrayal begins to sink in. The pain they caused to another is not just a distant memory. It is something that lingers, something that grows in intensity as the years go by. Eventually, time does something else. It brings clarity. The person who once justified their actions, who once believed they were right, will begin to see the truth. They will realize that the person they hurt was not the problem. The problem was within themselves. The choices they made, the lies they told, the trust they broke, all of it becomes clear. And in that clarity, they are forced to confront not just the person they hurt, but the person they have become. Time, in its relentless march forward, brings this clarity to light. It is a painful but necessary process, one that can only be avoided for so long. The reality of time is that it reveals everything. It doesn't allow us to hide from the truth. It doesn't give us the luxury of forgetting. And when it comes to betrayal, time doesn't simply allow us to move on. It makes us face the past over and over again until we can no longer deny the damage we have caused. The longer we try to avoid it, the stronger the pull of truth becomes. And in the end, time forces us to look at ourselves in that mirror and ask, who are we really? Time, in its own way, is a mirror that reflects the consequences of our actions. It reveals the truth about who we are and the choices we have made. And while we may try to avoid it, time will always find a way to show us our own face. Their regret will be their prison. There is a weight to regret that cannot be easily understood until one has experienced it firsthand. Regret is not a fleeting feeling. It is a deep, persistent ache that takes root in the heart and refuses to let go. It is the knowledge that something precious has been lost, something that can never be reclaimed. When a person betrays another, when they break trust or cause pain, they may not realize the full extent of the damage they've done in that moment. They may think that they can move on without consequences, that the other person will heal and life will go back to normal. But regret has a way of creeping up on us, slowly at first until it becomes an inescapable force that dominates our lives. And the one who has caused harm will find that their own regret becomes their prison. Regret is not just a passing thought or a fleeting moment of guilt. It is a constant companion, a shadow that follows the betrayer wherever they go. It begins to manifest in quiet moments when the distractions of daily life fade away. It comes in the form of reflection, the sudden awareness of what could have been, what should have been, had they made different choices. In those moments, the betrayer realizes that they cannot undo the harm they've caused, no matter how hard they try. And this realization is not just a fleeting thought, it is a heavy burden that settles in the soul, a weight that cannot be lifted. One of the most painful aspects of regret is its permanence. While time may dull the sharpness of other emotions, regret does not fade with the passing years. In fact, it often grows stronger. As time goes by, the betrayer's awareness of the damage they've caused deepens. They begin to see how their actions have affected not only the person they betrayed, but also themselves. The relationships that were once close begin to fracture. The trust that was once unbreakable begins to erode. And in this erosion, the betrayer is left with nothing but the weight of their own regret. What makes regret so difficult to bear is that it cannot be silenced. Unlike anger or frustration, which can be temporarily subdued, regret does not go away. It is not something that can be pushed aside or ignored. It nags at the mind, resurfaces in the quietest moments, and forces the betrayer to confront their actions over and over again. The more they try to escape it, the stronger it becomes. It becomes a prison, trapping them in a cycle of guilt and self-recrimination. Every decision they make is weighed down by the knowledge that they have caused harm, that they have destroyed something that cannot be fixed. This prison of regret is self-imposed. The betrayer may try to rationalize their actions, to tell themselves that they had no other choice, that the situation justified their behavior. But deep down, they know the truth. They know that their actions were not justified, that they could have made a different choice, that they could have spared the other person the pain they caused. And in that knowledge, regret takes root. It is the realization that they are not the person they once thought they were. It is the understanding that they are capable of causing harm, of breaking trust, of betraying those they once cared for. This truth becomes their prison, and they cannot escape it. Regret is not just an internal feeling, it has a way of seeping into every aspect of the betrayer's life. It affects their relationships, their sense of self-worth, and their ability to move forward. The person who has betrayed another may find it difficult to trust themselves, to believe in their own integrity. They may question their motives, their choices, and their character. The guilt they feel over their betrayal erodes their confidence and leaves them feeling empty, as if they have lost a part of themselves that they can never reclaim. Over time, this prison of regret becomes more suffocating. The betrayer may try to distract themselves, to fill the emptiness with work, with new relationships, or with temporary pleasures. But no matter what they do, the regret remains a constant reminder of what they've done. It is a prison that they cannot escape, a weight they cannot shed. And the more they try to run from it, the more it grows, consuming their thoughts, their emotions, and their sense of peace. The irony of regret is that it is a punishment that is entirely self-inflicted. The person who has betrayed another may believe that they have won, that they have gained an advantage, that they are free to move on with their lives. But in reality, they have trapped themselves in a prison of their own making. They may think that they can outrun the consequences, that the damage they've caused will eventually fade into the past. But regret does not work that way. It is a constant presence, always lurking in the background, always reminding them of what they have lost. The greatest punishment for the one who has betrayed another is not the anger or the pain they may have caused. It is the prison of regret that they have built for themselves. It is the unrelenting sense that they will never be able to undo the harm they've caused, that they will never be able to repair the trust they've broken. And this prison is one that they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, no matter how much time passes or how many new chapters they try to start. The reality of regret is that it is a force that does not fade. It is not something that can be outrun or forgotten. It is a weight that continues to build over time, a prison that only grows stronger as the betrayer tries to escape it. And in the end, the one who has betrayed another will find that their regret is their most enduring punishment, one that will stay with them long after the hurt they caused has faded from the memories of others.